Hi, thanks for inviting me to talk today. I'll be introducing the Northern Cobalt Swallow Grain Cobalt project, which is in the Northern Territory of Australia. First, a little bit about the company. We're pretty new. We only listed on the ASX on the 29th September last year. We currently have about 50.2 million shares on offer. Market cap at 27 cents, probably fully diluted is about 20 million. So we're really quite small in the cobalt space. And we have a number of options on issue as well. Our board is made up of Len Dean, who's the chairman, who has is a metallurgist and experience with BHP as the marketing director of iron ore and manager of minerals marketing. Myself, I'm a geologist. I've listed 3 junior companies on the ASX previously and joined Northern Cobalt and took it through the IPO process last year. Duncan Chessel is a member of the vendor group that we got the project off of. And Andrew Shearer, who is a resource analyst with PAC Partners, but in a former life has been a geophysicist and geologist as well. Our aim for this year, we're just about to start our next season of fieldwork, hopefully starting drilling before the end of this month, is to discover more tonnes of cobalt in the ground. Currently, we have a very small indicated resource, which we proved up late last year. It was a known resource that was discovered by Rio Tinto originally. And we essentially did a proof of concept resource drill out on that to get samples for metallurgy and confirm that the resource mineralisation style was what we thought it was. So I guess we're a little bit different than a lot of other cobalt plays in the market. Really, we are an exploration play, although we do have a small resource in the ground. When we started Northern Cobalt, I think the cobalt price was about 25,000 US a tonne. It's now sitting over 90, I think, around today. So things have changed dramatically in just that short amount of time that we've got things underway. Being situated in Australia, we don't have a lot of issues that, say, some of the projects in the DRC may have. We have a very supportive mining jurisdiction in Australia. So I'll go through a bit about the projects and plans that we have for our Swallow Grain Cobalt project. As I mentioned before, we're right up in the top northern part of the Northern Territory. Our mineralisation style is probably the most similar to what you get in the DRC than many of the other mineralisation styles that have been promoted in Australia. So it's not nickel laterite, it's not nickel, copper, cobalt sulfide. It's more a sedimentary hosted style of mineralisation. So we have a large oxide component and a sulfide transitional oxide component. And the main mineral is sygennite, which is a nickel cobalt sulfide, which is non-refractory. The mineralisation occurs at surface and goes down to about 90 metres. It's flat lying. Essentially, it forms within a breccia pipe within the sediment. So while it's relatively constrained in its dimensions, there's multiple breccia pipes that have been identified in the region. We have quite a large ground holding in the area. We hold most of the prospective ground. We have taken this deposit through to indicated status on the back of CRA drilling that was done in the 1990s. They've probably given us about a 3-year head start in exploration. They drilled in the order of nearly 200 and something holes in the region, mainly looking for stratiform copper. What they did find were these cobalt-bearing pipes in the region, and they identified at least probably another 12 to 13 pipes other than the Stanton Cobalt deposit that have cobalt mineralisation within them. So we're quite confident of proving up more resources in the region. Styles of mineralisation, the oxide you can see on the left-hand side is asphalene, which is quite common in the DRC. I think that's what a lot of the artisanal miners hand pick, quite high in cobalt. And then the sulfide mineralisation on the other side is the sygennite, as I mentioned before. This is a image of the Stanton Cobalt resource that we have. We flew a very detailed magnetic survey over that resource and in the general area, 25-metre line spacing, to see if we could fingerprint what this deposit style would look like in the magnetics. And quite quite luckily, it's got a very coincident magnetic low underneath it. So you can see the multicoloured image in the background is the reduced to pole magnetic image, and the purples and the blues where we have very low magnetic signature. The two little highs in the centre there are the drill rig and the rod truck. So they were artefacts that we were of the magnetic survey as we were drilling them out. And you can see the drill holes in red are where we have significant cobalt values in drill hole, and there's a very good coincidence with the mag low. Our most recent resource statement, we took it from about 500,000 tonnes that Rio had up to 940,000 tonnes at 0.13% cobalt with a little bit of nickel and copper. It's a very, very small resource, only contains about 1,200 tonnes of contained cobalt, but with the mineralogy and the metallurgy that we're expecting, we think it won't take finding too many more of these deposits to make something that's significantly economic. Quickly about the geology, generally flat-lying sediments. As I mentioned, the mineralisation occurs from surface, and you can see some of the intersections we're getting in this resource. As we go into the main part of the mineralisation, there's a significant disruption in the thickness of the basalt and sandstones in the area where we think it's becoming brecciated and forming this breccia pipe that hosts most of the cobalt mineralisation. And some quite significant intersections, and some of these intersections have grades over a metre to go in excess of 1% cobalt. We're currently having completed 10 diamond holes through the resource. Have sent those samples over to Germany for metallurgical test work. That's due to come back probably late June now, and we're aiming to produce a concentrate from simple dense media separation for the oxide component. So we're talking very low capex. It's hard to sort of give numbers at this stage, but we're hoping sort of less than 50 million to produce for capex to produce a concentrate. And as part of that, we're undertaking a scoping study, which is really not aimed at indicating an economic project, but it is to give us the yardstick by which how many tonnes in the ground we need to find to prove up an economic project. Okay, so how are we going to find more tonnes in the ground? As I mentioned, Rio had identified a number of other of these breccia pipes in the region, probably 12 to 13. We've identified a nice magnetic low that sits underneath the main ore body. We extended our magnetic survey to cover about an area of 25 by 25 k's and identified another 120 magnetic lows that look like these pipes. We thought that's a lot of drill targets to go and test. How can we narrow this down? We looked at running some algorithms over the magnetics, and the remnant magnetism over that deposit is quite unique. So we believe that when that mineralisation is in place, it has fingerprinted the magnetic field of the Earth at the time, and it has quite a unique signature. So we've been able to target 37 of those 120 that have that unique signature. So that's probably telling us that remnant was trapped at the same time that mineralisation event occurred. So they have a good likelihood of being formed by that same mineralising process. So starting before the end of this month, we're going to be out drilling with a very mobile air core rig, testing the oxide component of the zone. And then we've done significant testing with a Brooker XRF, which has a cobalt algorithm built into it. Traditionally, XRFs are horrible at defining cobalt mineralisation because they interfere with the iron and manganese peaks. We've compared our lab samples of the resource drill out with the measurements from this instrument, and have developed a nice index to give us good, accurate measurements. So instead of taking a week to test one of these targets, we're looking at testing a target in a day and getting almost immediate results from the XRF. So hopefully getting a lot of news flow to the market during that time. Aiming to drill from end of this month right the way through till the beginning of the wet season, which occurs in December this year. Just very quickly, we have a larger scale project just about 16 k's to the south, where we have the same geology, but there's a sandstone layer that sits over the top of these breccia pipes. We think that acts as a pressure cooker lid and hopefully forces the mineralisation out laterally. So we are going to go probably in about 2 or 3 months and put a number of RC holes into this target. And we're looking, instead of the order of 1 to 4 or 5 million tonne style targets, we're looking at 10 to 20, 30 million tonnes for this style of mineralisation. Just very briefly, we've got one other project in Central Australia looking for lithium and heavy rare earths. Currently doing some soil sampling on that at the moment to work out what the potential for those commodities are. We've been out there and mapped, got a very large pegmatite field of about 12 by 2 Ks, and like our soil sampling that we do over that will give us some indication of fertility of that region, and we'll plan on drilling that during the oncoming wet season between the December and May period while we can't get up and do the cobalt drilling at Wallagrang. Okay, thanks. That's all.